I couldn't find a lighter, so I had to do it with the old military hack. I didn't expect it to go off like a firecracker. Okay, drank some beer. Plan on drinking the whole beer. Hey, Sergio. Welcome, my man. Here we go. I thought I had a chance to change the world with my lyrics as early as 1977 when Ronnie Rodriguez, the guitar player known as Scab in my section of Illinois at the time, listened to my song and suggested I buy a bass guitar. He got exclusive copyright to a song called 21 Guns to Salute. My voice was not suited for singing in a band. Today, my spirit is inclined to not write a lengthy intro. Do that, let the spirit speak, thing is what's going on here. I brought a toroid today. Toroid. What? The Lord just kept providing all day. Side note, the pearl, that's not one of the real precious stones of the Bible of like, oh, it's a pearl. They found a pearl from an oyster, from what they would have considered an unclean animal. Come on now. It's a stone, and I've shown you what it was, but I don't remember because we're just getting back into the stones. So I'm not writing a lengthy intro. I hope you know now the nation that ended up with you is at war, has been at war, and the stage of softening up where they weaken your fighting aged men or changed them completely. One way of softening them up is making fentanyl and methamphetamines available on every red light district of every town over 500. If you live in a town of 500, there's somebody probably doing meth or fentanyl. It's everywhere. What's the logistics of that? You have been at war. Your nation is not right, nor does it care for you. No way. I had something else that was a lot more intriguing that would have been maybe, like people going like, wow. Maybe we'll see if we can't. So anyway, I have to turn this off for a second. So I did go buy some trilobites. I'm going to, let me, I have to lose this digital, that wonderful map. So I did go get some trilobites. These are rough ones, not the fancy ones from Madagascar. But I'm going to show you that these are midbrains. Sorry I can't, sorry I didn't get it all done today. I know that everybody thinks like, well, when are you going to do the next thing? When are you going to do the next thing? You know what? I'm having a beer tonight, and I'm going to be giving you the Bible verse about it that, before the end, I'm all paid up. I'm good with the Lord. It said you can have a beer. So that's what I'm doing. Before the end, I'm having a beer with the Lord, letting him know I'm good with this judgment that you're doing, Father. It had to be done. There was no other way. So this is the beer I'm drinking. Look at this trilobite. I actually got 4 trilobites. This one's one piece, so I'm going to be able to, break it down on the whole rock and show you how when they manufacture the trilobites for the museums and for the sale, they know what they're having. And I was walking out and they're like, did did the Lord just provide me a good example of like a corpus calestrum? Uh-uh. So the Stones are crying out, and oh yeah, for a mere $7, because who knows how long this rock was laying there, and with just a little bit of bufferage, that's a tiger eye. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm using a different camera. I'm using the light from one camera and the camera from another one. That explains what was going on there. One more time, close up on the bottom of the corpus calestrum. Look at those. It looks like blocks, right? A lot of things there. A lot of sections going on in your brain. Unless you got a better idea. It could have just exploded that way. Went, the whole 3 billion year thing. Ooh, toroids, right? We kind of, it's like you got an intro, man. You know you did. And this is going to be all the good spur of the moment stuff. Tiger Eye is really good. Now, one of these, this magnet has Tiger Eye in it. 4 little tiger eyes. This magnet has white buffalo. Got another copper bracelet today. Met the president of the university because they're like, you know what? I went and got to this one garage sale and I found the toroid, and that's cool. And I was being prompted, go to that other one because I know the girl, and it's, and they're like, so I went, and then on the way back, they're like, I should pull in and go see what they're doing at the football field. I didn't do a video yesterday because they were pumping up the jams, and I live a stone's throw from the football field. So I was going to go over there today. What is going on? And the president of the university was just getting out to go to congratulate them. These athletes have signed up to do something to where they ran a mile every hour for 24 hours for one whole day, 24 hours straight. They would do it, and by the end, oh my goodness, were they dragging? It was that was a crazy thing. But I got to meet the president by following an instinct and a prompting of the Lord. Check this out. Well, I wanted to put up a couple of more things here. I don't have the beer every day because of the calories, and it's just that I've lost the taste. Here we go. So, you seeing that? I think so. This is all to do with tithes. Another one of the reasons that people have the tithe all messed up, and this isn't going to be about it, but you go pay the tithe, your seed comes in from the field year by year. Every 3 years, you got to do this and that to go and do your thing, pay well, get the tithe paid. But if it's too long for you so that you are not able to carry the tithe when the Lord your God blesses you, well, to go to the place that, you can't all go to Jerusalem, but whatever you choose, turn it into money, bind it up, and then go to the place where the God chooses every, 3 years to get together. And it's almost like a forced economy, and then spend that money on whatever you desire. You need a new sheep, you need a new oxen, it's all going to your friend's good thing. Or do you need wine or strong drink? Whatever your appetite craves. And you shall eat there before the Lord your God and rejoice, you and your household. do not neglect the Levite. Okay, that's going to go on. So basically, what I'm showing you that for is only to say that, not that you have to pay the tithe now or go up anywhere or anything like that, but I'm drinking it as a time where I know this nation is at war, and I really think it's about to turn into a hot war, a bad war, where the United States is exposed as somebody who actually, well, whether or not who won the election, it was Donald Trump against Joe Biden. They're probably two of the worst people. I mean, don't they like to sniff the hair of little girls? What I heard. And in case you didn't know, that goes with some other implications. I mean, like if somebody, it's like if my daughter came up and said, "Look at this new Apple shampoo," and I went, that smells good. That's different from what we see the Trumpster and even his fascination with his own daughter, and Biden, actually grabbing hair and the children. Oh, what a world. What is that from? The Wizard of Oz. What a world. What a world. Did I show this one thing I like to show to avoid getting my thing taken down? Because I'm, the whole deal of not trying to make money, mocking, satire, education. This is what they don't show on the United States. Watch, this is what the foreign countries are showing about us. Just welcomed back the famous prisoner swap. Well, I'll show you. Oh, Joe, where are you going? This is the plane that the hostages came in. This is not Air Force One, but the ceremony was over, so he walked onto the wrong plane. So while I'm aboard the plane, this is what the other countries are saying about most of my viewers. Oh, he wanted to go say hi to the crew. Okay, maybe that's not what they were. Clarified. What are they going to say? Hey, Joe's there. How come trick or treat? Oh, he wanted to personally thank the flight crew. That's the way you do it. Now, you can see I searched this. Brides and prisoner walked on plane. That is the number one there. For Fox News, is the greeting.
There's Evan Gerskovich.
We saw
Also
that.
Kermaseva.
And then he wanted to go greet the crew because he's fine.
I asked them to do some things that were against their immediate self-interest, and really very difficult for them to do, particularly Germany and stuff.
Blah, 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 blah. And so, he stands there and then he just wandered off. They're portraying it in the other. Now, this is going to be another one of my deals. Whether or not he's cognizant and he just wanted to go thank the crew, they're playing it off in the other countries as this and that. Now, the thumbnail about the Y2, not the Y2K version of 2038, which they call the Unix epoch. I don't know if they're going to be able to fix the computers or not, but I know they're going to be able to keep the world in a panic if you're not raptured by then. And my theory continues to be proven correct every day, down to the bankruptcy of the United States and the flooding, the Laurel Canyon, February 4th, predicting where in Satan's throne would be, because when the storm hit on February 6th, the El Nino bringing the atmospheric river that was, I just prophesied, and I only prophesied like 3 times in my whole 10-year career, but they're all right. And that started the beginning of the end, and it's coming down. So that's why I'm having a beer at the end to tell the Lord, Father, I get it. We brought this on ourselves, and I'm going to prove you it was Satan, not only the God of the Old Testament. All of the bad parts of the Bible starts back in Luke 14 when it says the 70 came back and says, we were casting out demons left and right. And Jesus said, I saw Satan fall from heaven. And from there on out, what happened? Blame it on Satan. That's the safe thing to do, because the Lord blames it on Satan. And you still got to get your mind wrapped around this. Remember the whole picture I showed you? They do the same thing.
For many of us, turns out that's not true. This video was not new at all. It was broadcast years ago on television. But why was it buried? And what does it show us? And why
was it buried? Because they're bringing it out now. That's why. Everything's happening now, starting with the February 6th atmospheric river. They didn't know I was going to prophesy that where it hits is going to be the throne of Satan. Well, it hit in Laurel Canyon, Beverly Hills, Hollywood Hills. That Hollywood Hills. Why is it buried? Is because we lost. The Bible says we weren't going to turn this world around. We're going to get a remnant.
Has it suddenly surfaced during the same week that President Biden steps down from running for re-election? President Trump is nearly assassinated and gives a speech at the RNC. This news surfaces during that same week. It is curious indeed. Ted Walter, he's the executive director for the International.
Yeah, so this guy's got a pretty good breakdown here. I'm not going to bore you with this. I know you're down with it, but it's all happening this week, last week. Everything's happening now. Crowd strike, stock
really
market
the
crashing.
The building started to come down, and my friend and colleague Richard Gage made that observation, or his team made that observation and put it out on his social media. And so you can see the video of that, which I provided for your audience. And then I found a second video. Once I saw that, I was like, wow, found a second video of that. There's just no reason for a squib to be shooting out of the building, starting to shoot out of the building before the top begins to come down. And really, you had a massive hole in the building, right, where the plane went in. So there's no reason that air would be pushed out of nearby parts of the building. If the top starts to come down, the air will just be pushed out the hole. And yet you got...
That's not boring. That's not boring, but you either believe it or you don't. But some of these comments, I know that Dr. Judy Wood was mentioned by more than one person, and she nailed all this. I mean, but until your eyes are opened, you don't know. I did not. I knew our government was bad for a long time and was way against them from, the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, but I didn't think it was like that 9/11 style, but it was. And when God opens your eyes, he opens your eyes. A couple of Bible verses, and then we'll be demanded to sift. Satan has desired to have you, demanded to have you. I ask earnestly. This is a compound word of that, a handing over, occurs only in Luke 22:31. The reason I'm showing this is if you think that maybe the time of Job, that will never happen again, well, then why did the Lord Jesus Christ tell Simon Peter, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he might sift you as wheat? All this human show is an object lesson for the angels, as we'll see. They're desirously looking. They don't have omniscience. God knows the end from the beginning. They know they almost make it. In their mind, they can't see what's going to stop them. Verse 31. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. You're getting sifted. I've been sifted. Some of you may have been sifted. I hope your strength remained. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. It's enough. The next section, to those who are elect exiles of the dispersion in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, according to the foreknowledge of God, the Father, in the sanctification of the Spirit, for obedience to Jesus Christ, and for the sprinkling with his blood. Now, he's writing to the dispersion. Galatia, Cappadocia, doesn't that bring to mind the 17-layer underground city of where he was telling people, flee to the mountains, do this and that. The foreknowledge of God, it was going to happen. No, let's 1 Peter 1, verse 20. He was known before the foundation of the world, but it was revealed in the last times for your sake. That was Peter telling them, we're going to get judged so hard, but now you are made aware of it. Through him, you believe in God, who raised him from the dead and glorified him. So that's your faith, that you have to stick with it. It was he knew it from before the foundation of the world. A veil was lifted, and the elect knew it. Now, before we move forward, we better find out what is unthinkable, radical, acceptable, sensible, popular. What is policy? The whole 6 degrees of acceptance, not separation. The Overton window was a novel, and the Overton window is a range of policies politically acceptable to the mainstream population at a given time. Because that when I was born, abortion was thought of as a hideous, evil thing, that the woman and the guy should have not had sex. They should have went and got married and then had a baby. And if they did have you should have done the right thing and get married. Give that baby a name. Named after American policy analyst Joe Overton, who proposed that an idea's political viability depends mainly on whether it falls within this range, rather than on politicians' individual preferences. According to Joe Overton, the Overton window, the window frames the range of policies that a politician can recommend without appearing too extreme. You don't want to be too extreme to gain or keep public office, given the climate of public opinion at the time. Now, if in 2017, many of the right-wing MAGA thought they were going to have subpoenas and they were going to be throwing them and locking them all up because, I mean, Hillary Clinton, what did she do? She smashed the hard drive. She got the bleach bit. And that's powerful software. And she didn't get in any trouble. And then he was going to expose her, but then he got the Operation Warp Speed all over himself. And then the next thing you know, he's walking around eating powdered sugar donuts, wiping it off his jacket, acting like, hey, I'm the former vice president. I should have, I'm the man. Just a little, we're going to take them in the order they come, right? Mount Kalish. Kalish. Tibetan Plateau, 6,638 meters, 21,700 feet. Located on these borders, it's crazy. The climbing of this mountain is prohibited by the United States government due to its religious significance. You think Mount Everest, is that what they still call it? That's the tallest mountain in the world, right? You climb that. Not this one. Matter of fact, no one's ever climbed it. So what they say is that if you try to climb it, you turn old. Yeah. And it's the most famous mountain for 4 different religions. 4 different religions. Hugh Rutledge, Alamora, not Alamosa, visited there, saw it, estimated it, took pictures of it, attempted to climb. They ran into heavy snowfall and said, no can do. Another guy visited it in 2036, attempted to climb it. He asked the local people whether it was climbable. Only a man entirely free of sin can climb Mount Kalish, and he wouldn't have to actually scale the sheer walls of ice to do it. He'd simply turn himself into a bird and fly to the summit. Okay, so he didn't try it either. This guy was given an opportunity in the mid-'80s. He reportedly saying, if we conquer this mountain, then we conquer people's soul. I suggest you go and climb something a little harder. But for some reason, nobody ever does it. As of last year, nobody's ever gone there. Hey, what's the Super Bon? Remember that crazy band that sometimes I used to listen to and subject you guys to? Was it called Soul Coughing? They have a song called Super Bon. There's a statue of one of their gods. They're more famous for the left-facing swastika. It's a swastika. Swastikas go the other way. The sacred symbol of the Bon. James Bond. Just kidding. I'm drinking a beer. After winning the Tibetan thumb wrestling championships, the Dalai Lama rubs it in. Super Bon.
Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God.
I was shown that, some of these messages are 10 years old. This one guy said, the verse you quoted in Hebrews was from a quote in Habakkuk 2, verse 2. Then the Lord answered me and said, record the vision and inscribe it on the tablets, that the one who reads it may run. For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It hastens towards the goal, and it will not fail. Though it tarries, wait for it will certainly come, it will not delay. This makes me think that the writer in Hebrews was talking about the certainty of the end coming, not necessarily the urgency. This is especially true when you read the verse prior to the one you quoted. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what is promised. And then he had, I'm not giving you a thumbs down. Now, you see how easy this would be, to think, that's interesting. My only response is to confirm that I do believe the Hebrews writer meant to convey urgency and certainly also. But the simple fact is that when you do a little search, it's not like all of a sudden 10 years ago they were talking about the golden age past. It's he's been a preterist. They're talking about the 1,000-year reign explained in the binding now to explain it away as a preterist. But these 10-year-old videos, it was easy to see, okay, is it 10 years ago? Preterism, one with God. They're going to have different,
was ultimately
and that is nothing like the people that know they've added 1,000 years and that we're already past the millennium. The preterists, the postmillennium, are waiting on the world to accept Jesus, and then the millennium starts. But there was a destruction of Jerusalem. They don't believe in a worldwide Armageddon mudflood. The ones who know that I'm not kidding. Now, look, if you type in something, Lord Bluetooth Ogum, Unix Epoch, right? The first thing you get is Herald Bluetooth. That's Lord Bluetooth. And when you find out that your phones and your computers all use Ogum, which was the preferred language at the time of pagan uprising, maybe. And then it's also you're gonna get that Unix epoch, so you're gonna get the epoch converter, Unix time. Unix time would not be a problem if it is a problem, but it's going to be a mental problem. They're going to make it into something because they will not leave the world not filled with fear. So it's a real deal. Started on January 1st, 1970, and they had to use Ogum. The story just is incredible about the guys that are like, yeah, I just thought it was cool. Really, was that super cool, huh? But usually when you think of Ogum and the Irish and the pagan, Scottish, whatever the Ogum, you think of their connection to the trees. Most of the information we learn about, what's a good tree, a bad tree, the holly and the alder, the willow and the oak, even the hawthorn, the pine. It's their alphabet. It is, look. To write Ogum, start by creating the Durham or central line. If you are carving the timber or stone, then the edge itself can be used as the straight line, which that counts. And they didn't know that, or they pretended not to know that when they used the Ogum language in the computers. And that's what caused the problem, Ogum alphabet. Harald Bluetooth was a king of Denmark and Norway. Gorm the Old and Tyra Danbold, he ruled. Do you or do you not believe in the added 1,000 years? because it's got to wash right over you. When you see this nonsense, this was at the time of Christ. Was it before 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 15 when he said, "You may have heard that all of Asia has departed me." Well, that's your great falling away that happened before Armageddon. It had to happen, and it did. When was the great? Don't believe him until the great falling away. Well, 1 Timothy, everything's fine. 2 Timothy, all of Asia has departed me. Where were the books of Revelation letters written to? Cities in Asia? Mm-hmm. 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 Uh-huh. 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 You want to see some pictures of them? There you go. Hey, look at that. Nice big rock. Like to do an autopsy on it. Bluetooth logo. Yeah, because it's his language. It's named after him. He did it. Do we have anything in here that says Bluetooth technology? Bluetooth wireless specification design was named after the king in 1997 based on an analogy that the technology would unite devices the way Herald Bluetooth united the tribes of Denmark into a single kingdom. The Bluetooth logo consists of younger Fathark Bindruin for his initials, the H and the B. He was going to unite them in the Denmark, the Vikings, into a kingdom. How did Led Zeppelin put it? On we row with thrashing oars. Our only goal is the western shore. Tonight you better stop reaping all your ruins. No mention of the using it for the computer language. They go with 1997, but in 1970, somebody else knew about the Herald Bluetooth. Unix time is a datable time representation widely used in computing. As the number of okay, this is their leap second year, it got messed up sometime. Where's the Bluetooth history? The earliest versions had the 32-bit integers. Timestamps stored this way could only represent a range of a little over 2.25 years. The epoch being counted from was changed with Unix releases to prevent overflow with midnight January 1, 1971 and January 1, 1972, both being used as epochs during Unix early development. Well, it's not really getting into why they chose Ogham, is it? So really, I guess I haven't shown that they do use Ogham. Oh no. So they're going to make it a problem. Maybe we should just go look at that. Do you think about the Ogham in here? Y2 2038 problem involves base 2 numbers. Analogous storage constraints will be reached in 2106, where systems storing Unix type. Well, they're even pushing it on. They're not going to be able to. Well, they say they're going to fix it. I'm about to, if you don't trust me by now, you can do it later, and then you'll be like, yep, it was Ogham. I might have a video. Oh, these are just some Ogham stones. So they're a real thing. They're not the best on stone. They're best on wood, I guess. because they have sharper corners. And then when these break or flake off, sometimes they can render it not as legible.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Bear League Project. How the heck are you? What you are looking at is a picture that I took in Pitcher Canyon. This is in the middle of nowhere, and I think that there's plenty of evidence showing that ancient Celtics of yesteryear visited this location. Not just Native Americans, which are awesome, and also Celtics. Oh, yeah. Just look at it. Look at this guy, for example, and then look at this. And this right here, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this doesn't look like your traditional Native American petroglyph from this area. But what took it over the top? What took it over the top was when I started exploring this cave in here. And this cave is in Pitcher Canyon. And I don't know if you watched the podcast where I was out there. You should check it out because I was exploring this area, first-person view.
Look at that.
And this cave I climbed up into, and I started talking about how, this is probably somebody's studio with a beautiful view. And, here's this area right here kind of shows where you can set up the bed. You climb up into there, and you just got this really cool window view here. And then I started looking at some of these lines. Like, it looked like somebody had etched lines into the stone. Like, see this area right here? And I was like, wow, what are they doing? Are they sharpening their knives? Is this some type of language? And somebody left a comment in the comment section about how that is actually very common. That looks like a common form of language that is called, hold on a second, I took notes here. And I want to show you this too. This is taken just south of there in Black Mesa, Oklahoma. And don't forget to check out gadgetswithleak.com.
Are you kidding me? The guy's got 300 subscribers, man, and he is pushing it. He's got to make some money.
That thing is
insane. I know you guys. I was the
floodlight,
same way.
amazing.
I scrambled for dollars.
It's right here, Ogham. Pronounced Ogham. Modern Irish Ogham. Or
I like this guy's style.
Old Irish Ogham is an early medieval alphabet used to write the early Irish language. In the Orthodox inscriptions from 1st to 6th centuries AD, and later the Old Irish language from 6th to 9th centuries, there's roughly 400 surviving Orthodox inscriptions on stone monuments throughout Ireland and Western Britain, and also America. Oh, yeah.
What?
Columbus, step back.
What?
Get back. Christopher Columbus isn't the alpha dog anymore. No,
what?
The Celtics were hanging out with the natives, and this is an inscription right here. Let me show you a little bit more. This is cool. Just look at it. Just look at that. And you can get into the details. It'll show you the lettering, etc.
It's kind of cool. I mean, I wish that he was talking about how much he loved the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but hey, this is the week where, I'm having a beer. Remember I had a beer last year? I tried to drink. I was going to drink 2 beers and I didn't. So I couldn't even finish
and then,
one.
To add to the coolness factor, this is from the Council for West Virginia Archaeology. And just a disclaimer. The Council for West Virginia Archaeology reproduces these original Ogham petroglyph articles for the record only. We give absolutely no credence on their conclusions. For articles discussing these claims, see the listing at the end of this page. Christian messages in Old Irish script deciphered from rock carvings in West Virginia. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then you look at these carvings, and you look at the lettering, and actually, they were able to decipher entire storylines that are connected to what? The stars. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. So, wow. Halo. Look at that. Would you?
When I had, when I started and when I had 80 subscribers, and had a lady named Edna, and she was always there, and I was making videos, and I was told, in the spirit, make these videos like you're talking to a crowd of people because eventually people will hear it. And I think that's what he's doing. And I would suggest you may do the same.
Just look at that. Dish, 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 dish. Okay. Now, this right here, I want to take a look at this. This looks like a very interesting petroglyph. This is my favorite. I'd like to get some samples on that.
Couple more minutes, just checking it out. Just
This
something to
is
throw out
also
there.
right up there with it. I mean, you can see somebody said, are those wings? No, it looks like he's got a shield behind him and he's holding two spears. And then you can see here, let's go back to some of these markings.
Crazy, huh?
Bada bing, bada bing. Traveling to Central
He rode there on a
America,
bicycle
the
to get
center
these
of the
pictures.
United States of
This
America.
guy's
It's
kind
considered
of
now the
nuts.
title that for this language and was able to, translate it. So awesome. Glad that happened. Look at the comparisons here. I mean, it's just crazy. So Christopher Columbus, step back.
However, we believe, with such incredible abilities and knowledge of the processional positions required to have constructed these towers, they are far out of the reach of our own well-studied, currently claimed ancient ancestors. Claimed as that of the Chasma-Sitchin culture, we however disagree with this posit, simply on the grounds of its astonishing nature and the capabilities of its past constructor. It is a place which we find highly compelling. We are often confronted with peculiar, seemingly impossible artifacts that will, after some in-depth investigation, leave one with more questions than answers. This, either due to their enormous, often seemingly impossible sizes, megaliths in some locations weighing far over 1,000 tons. Somehow, once used in their construction, sometimes set aloft, proof that not only were these stones hewn but moved and lifted seemingly with ease. But also, alas, the lack of public exposure many said sites are granted, often minimal at best, thus countless examples of advanced ancient technology remain still hidden here upon our planet. As a consequence, many have avoided scrutiny. Details therein which are clearly of a controversial nature are conveniently absent any funded studies of said ruins. We feel ruins of great importance, but due to the strength of evidence one can surmount in support of past, once highly advanced ancient civilizations at said locations, they are largely overlooked and actively avoided by funded archaeologists, academics, and historians alike en masse. Simply ignored, thus preventing awe from what we feel is a birthright, an accurate, warts and all, transparent exploration of the origins of humanity, and in turn, the history of our planet. Allowing one and all to make up their own minds in regard to the origin of said sites, no matter how controversial. This is the exact reason for the channel's creation, and is the driving force behind the 6 books one intends to write. A revolutionary cataloging of once, yet no more, deliberately overlooked or academically dismissed sites.
Yeah, this is history's mystery back when, year ago when before he didn't write the 6 books and instead monetized it, and you no longer see that this is, he doesn't do Creative Commons anymore, to where I wouldn't have had to show the thing, man, which is what we're rolling with here, right? What is the San Juan Charma project? Man, I just came up on these things today and I decided, we're just going to go with it. It continued through the 1950s, but they languished until 1962, post-World War II something. Take water from the drainage basin of the San Juan River a tributary of the Colorado River, to supplement water resources in the Rio Grande watershed. Well, I live right at the, pretty near the mouth of the Rio Grande. Finishes irrigation for that, which is unusual because we have an aquifer right underneath us. But instead, somehow in the late 1500s, the settlers were arrived, followed by Mexicans and Americans. Okay, Spanish settlers arrived. They might have been told to go there. They had a Rio Grande Compact in 1939. But anyway, these tunnels are built. They did it, and they're diverting, they're diverting river from the Colorado to the Rio Grande. And the Rio Grande, does it seem like, it really needed diverting? Maybe it did at a time. So many mysteries. So many mysteries. Los Alamos in New Mexico. Not Alamosa. Not the Alamo in Texas. But they got our water down there. Somehow they needed it. Okay. I could dig into it, but I figured today is just a Bible day. It's going to celebrate here. Now, what do we really know about what it's going to be like when it happens to us? Because, like I said earlier, we've been in the soft war. The enemy has fentanyl and methamphetamines and everything else in every town in the United States, would you say? If you want your meth and your fentanyl, you're going to get it. And otherwise you'll just be drunk. And what's going to happen? I mean, in our world where women can do no wrong, when things go bad, the hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. Lamentations, that is a sad book. It's all based, The Lord hath accomplished his fury. He poured out his fierce anger and hath kindled a fire in Zion, which hath devoured the foundations forever. So when that prophecy was fulfilled, do you think they're going to go like, no, here's Jerusalem right here. Donald Trump just made the U.S. ambassador's headquarters in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. It's, you know what? This has 5 chapters. Have you ever the limitations, oh, remember, it's going to be good. Even though the crown has fallen from our head, woe is us, we've sinned. One person admitting it doesn't mean that the other people were on board. Yeah. Thou, O Lord, abidest forever. We know you, we love you. At least he did. Jeremiah did. Thy throne is from generation to generation. Why have you forgotten us forever and forsaken us for so long? Turn to us, O Lord, and we'll be turned, renew our days. But thou hast utterly rejected us. Thou art very wroth against us. But they're going to turn it around, right? In chapter 6? No. Deuteronomy 28, verse 56. The most tender and refined woman among you, who would not venture to set her sole of her foot on the ground because she is so delicate and tender, will begrudge to the husband she embraces, to her son and her daughter. I want to go to verse 57, please. Well, I'll just read it from here. The most delicate woman who would, her husband, never would do anything. She's going to say, no, the afterbirth that comes from between her legs, I'm eating it, because she will secretly eat them for lack of anything else in the siege and the distress that your enemy will inflict on you within your gates. Now, we do know that the time of Armageddon is the worst time in the whole world, but it's the pictures we see of what happened in World War I and II and Korea, Vietnam, and Bosnia. What the slaughter going on in Ukraine, drones following people into caves, and they're just killing them left and right. It's a slaughter. And the woman, could that happen here? I think so. I think it's inevitable. Isaiah 49:15. Can a woman forget her nursing child? Seems like it. That she should have no compassion on the son of her womb? Huh? Well, I guess it happens. Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. So we have a promise from God that, yeah, don't be a mansplayer. Don't be too manly, because a woman and her nursing, everything's going to always be good until it's like, oh my gosh, there is no more Walmart. There is no more PayPal. There is no more, I'm going to go get something. I'll see, I got to run to the bank. That Operation Overlook, was it? Actual cases of child cannibalism have been documented, especially during severe famines in various parts of the world, sometimes followed by infanticide. Wow. Jonathan Swift's satire, A Modest Proposal, which proposed eating the babies of the poor as a supposedly well intended means of reforming society. Yow. Cronus, the god of time, ate his own children. So they say. There's a pope doing something, resurrecting 3 butchered children, probably so he could have his own way. Puss in Boots, confronting an ogre who's dining on human babies. Remember the Austin Powers fat bastard? I ate a baby. There are people that are eating babies not out of necessity. They're the ones that have railroaded us, brainwashed us, taken over.
Published until the 80s. And it's only much more recently that it's been dated. And what's very exciting, this is very important piece of evidence, is how early this object is. It came up with a radiocarbon date to 2 sigma from about 340 to 540 AD. So this is really important because it shows that Ogham was known in Orkney right at the very beginning of the Ogham tradition.
What's with this Ogham? It ended up in our computers in Hollywood.
keeps moving. But if it's very hard, they can maybe see it there, those 2 dots either side of the baseline. It's possible that just give you a bit of a close-up of these letters. And again, in the middle section, you can see these.
It looks like those ones he found in Honduras and in the Americas. And step back, Christopher Columbus. There's that Ogham medieval writing. Search the images. There'll be trees right off. Somehow the pagans, they love it. Some people don't care. If people are spiritual, they're going to say you got to do it. But they don't want it to be Jesus Christ. See, it's on the corner. Now that's where it broke down when they did the Unix epoch. So we don't have Ogham inscriptions. So again, this covers known by the 1940s, but still they wanted to put it by 1970 on how to write code. That's going to have to get to the bottom. We got to get to the bottom of this, man. But it's too late because nothing's going to change the fact that Satan's loose. What happens when you set your iPhone to date to 2038? shuts down and locks you out. It locks you out. Luke. Now, it all went bad when Satan fell from heaven. He said to them, I beheld Satan falling as lightning from heaven. The 72 returned with joy. Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. And he said, well, I've given you authority to tread on snakes and scorpions and over the power of the enemy. But Satan has fallen. 12:31. That's the Gospel of John, chapter 12, verse 31. What Jesus told them. Now judgment is upon the world. This is after the Satan. Yikes. Now the prince of this world will be cast out. And when I am lifted up to the earth, I'm going to draw everybody to myself. Let's see what that means. He caused somebody to fall asleep. His countenance fell. Deep sleep fell. She dismounted from her camel. That would be Rebecca going, who's that? That's Isaac. Boom. She put on her veil and dismounted her camel. Settled. He died. Huh? What verse am I looking at? The two occurrences of something has fallen. Well, when they use this exact word, based on what I just showed you, from all of these other words that can be like go down, he fell down, step down off her camel. These two, the wicked, you have fallen. In Isaiah, how art thou fallen from heaven? Lucifer, how are you fallen from heaven? The wicked, how have you fallen? Second Samuel. So it is that fallen. Should we look at the Sammy? Let's look at verse 34. Real quick. Your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. As a man falls before the wicked, so also you fell. And all the people wept over him even more. Yep, Abner had definitely an up and down career, that is for sure. Then all the people came and urged David to eat something. And David took an oath, saying, may God punish me, and ever so severely, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun sets. Now, who wants to think that the apple of God's eye? Yeah, I know, Bathsheba. He reaped what he sowed. But for the most part, he was even perfect in his repentance. And he was perfect here. Everybody was happy because he could sacrifice for himself. He was, don't let them brainwash you. He was the best king, human king ever. Matthew 24, verse 15. Oh my goodness. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then let those flee. If you're in Judea, flee to the mountains. If you're not, you should probably consider fleeing to the mountains in your area. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down and take what is in his house. And let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. But alas, for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days, pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on a Sabbath. Great tribulation, such has not been seen from the beginning of the world until now, no, and never will be. So you have that going for you if you want to be going, Now, see, I've told you beforehand. So if they say to you, look, he's in the wilderness, do not go out. If they say, look, he is in the inner room, do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun was darkened, and the moon did not give its light. The stars did fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens were shaken. Then appeared in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and all the tribes of the earth, they did mourn. And they all saw the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with great power and great glory. And he did already send out his angels with those loud trumpet calls and gathered them from one end of the heaven to the other. The elect, heaven and earth pass away, but not his word. Now, is there anything confusing about this? In the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will it be, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Now, as it was then and as it was, it only took a few years of them falling away from the gospel to just forget about it. Now, but here, then two men will be in the field. One will be taken and one will be left. Do you want to be taken or left? Two women will be grinding. One will be taken, one will be left. Take your choice. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. And it talks about how, it might seem long, but you keep working. Don't go messing around with the other servants, being mean for no reason, because your master is going to find you doing something when he comes. But if the wicked servant says to himself, the master is delayed, and begins to beat his fellow servants and eats and drinks with the drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wow. And when I was making that point about are you sure you want to be taken, because it's not as clear as the rapturous would make you think. All right, but I am going to keep rolling. I just want to make a video tonight. When it talks about in Revelation 14, it kind of, that same thing. I heard a voice from heaven saying, write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. There'll be that blessed first resurrection. Blessed indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from all their labors and their works follow them, because that's how, you're given certain talents and you're going to be judged on it. Now, if you're somebody that could get 5 talents and turn it into, look, I made 5 more talents, and another guy can't do it, remember the seed fell on good soil, and the wheat, some was 30, 60, 90, and 100-fold. You're responsible for your own talent, not the other Christians. You worry about how hard you're working. Then I looked and beheld a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like the Son of Man, and a golden crown on his head, and a sharp sickle in his hand. And another angel came out of the temple, calling with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, put in your sickle and reap, for the hour has come for the harvest of the earth is fully ripe. So he sat on the cloud and swung his sickle. And then another angel came and said, now for the wicked, and there's the righteous and wicked, two. But it's all, it's a reaping. At the end of the 1,000 years, there was a reaping. If you're wondering why there's such a small population after 1711 and only a group of Freemasons ready to work with the Roman Catholic fake church, it's because they all got raptured. We don't know how the rest of the dead, how we ended up here. As I postulated before, for all I know, we're the rest of the dead. That we're the babies that got their brains bashed in. That for everyone to have no excuse, they will continue that soul life. Because we're not living in the golden age. We're living in something far from it. We're living where Satan's loosed. And it's all crap. But at this point in history, there was a time in the past for the good guys where they said, put in your sickle and gather the clusters. And then there was also bad, good, bad. Here's this one. Put in your sickle and gather the clusters from the vine of the earth, for its grapes are ripe. So the angel swung his sickle across the earth and gathered the grape harvest of the earth and threw it into the great wine press of the wrath of God. And the wine press was trodden outside the city. Where did they take Jesus to crucify him? And where did he suffer for your sins? And he is the wine press that suffered every bit for everyone. And that's why they can say symbolically, possibly literally, the blood flowed from the wine press as high as the horse's bridle for 250 miles. There's a lot of sin in this world that Jesus paid the price for with suffering and pain. And we are to emulate our adopted big brother. He is that wine press. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who live in the heavens rejoice. But terror will come to the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you in great anger, knowing he has little time. And this, the war in heaven. They have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of the testimony. They did not love their own lives so as to shy away from death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to you, O earth and sea. Sea gets thrown into the lake of fire. Death and hell and the sea get thrown into the lake of fire. For the devil has come down to you. Great wrath knows he has a short time. Revelation 14. Verse 15, another angel came from the tabernacle and shouted, one sitting on the clouds, swing that sickle, for the time of the harvest has come. The crop of the earth is ripe, and we're ripening. There is a matter of time. We're not going to make America great again. It was never great. The one who ordered this reaping was one like the Son of Man with a golden crown on his head. Joshua chapter 11. And there were Anakim in the hill country. And then there weren't. Because we took them, it wasn't a big deal. The latest news. Archaeologists discover 4,000-year-old artifact cited 25 times in the Bible. They found it in a cave of skulls. Colored that scarlet worm, that scarlet dye that proves what a high level of sophistication in clothes they had. And that really no science problem was too big or too small. And so they could do it. And so, there it goes, man. Couldn't do a video today or last night because of the pumping 24/7, run a mile every hour, raise money. Went over there today, met the president. I'm telling you that right now, I am happy that there's a dozen people listening to me because I know in the long run, the Lord hears my prayers and the Lord knows that in 2016, let's get let's start a new channel because I want to teach something. Does the title give you a hint? Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age Past. And it was presenting preterism, the only vile pretamillennialism, it was destroying preterism, of which I believed in for 35 years. And this was a new one because the Lord had revealed, oh my goodness. And this was all based on things from Victor Schauberger, studying the vortex of how giants would flow as water receded in a flood. The vortexes led to the stones crying out. What started out as a mission for me to find out how come Obama was going to let my son, who was a spy, get killed, morphed into a second vision, which I cannot deny happened. I am God's Paco. And there would be no, is it trees? Is it meltology? Is it the stones crying out because they're reserved in judgment? All three came from Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age past. So why should I change whether there's 11 or 100 or 1,000? I shouldn't, and I won't. That's why I want you to remember that it was a Flat Earth Nation with the Golden Age past. I had to have another name. They kicked me off the YouTube. So I said, because the mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart by being 1, called, 2, chosen, and 3, faithful, because that's the only way to be sure your name will not be blotted out of the book of life. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. And